you know, a couple of weeks ago at Martinsville, you had the fastest car, and people said you were going to get your first win, but it didn't happen. Could it happen today, the final short track race of the year?
Well, I sure think it could. The Xerox Amoco Ford Thunderbird's been running good. We've been qualified well. We've been real close to winning races at a number of places, and we'll just have to see what happens here today. You know, the track conditions are just a little different from what they would normally be, because I think the track's a little bit cleaner than what you normally see. Normally there's a little more oil and grease and a little slipperier than what we have here today. We've got a pretty green track to start with.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, Alan. We'll let you go, and we'll talk to you later on today.
Thank you.
We'll go inside the in-car camera now. Inside the Hardee's Oldsmobile, that is Dale Jarrett. He is starting back in 19th spot. In the Hardee's race cam, you see the Pittsburgh Ford of Kyle Petty. There's the Kroger car of Ernie Irvin, the rookie driver just in front of Dale Jarrett. We'll talk about Ernie later on. He is closing in on that rookie battle with Kenny Bouchard. As we watch back and forth, as saw in the steering wheel there, Dale Jarrett getting ready for the green flag up front. And back in the back, there is Darrell Waltrip starting back in the pack. Waltrip will make his rocket run to the front, starting back in 21st spot. And alongside him, back there as well, Dale Earnhardt starting 22nd. The poorest start, it equals the poorest start of Earnhardt this year. He started 22nd back at Rockingham and finished 5th.
Well, Jerry, they have a long way to go to get up through the pack, and that's tough on a short track. There are a lot of cars that are running awfully close together. We clocked a lot of the cars yesterday afternoon in the 2-hour practice run they did have, and it looked to me like there were at least 12 or 15 drivers that were equal as far as speed is concerned, and that makes it very tough to pass on this racetrack.
Well, you're right about that, Ned. You know, North Wilkesboro is a tight bull ring. It's really one of the last or the few remaining short tracks on the Winston Cup circuit, and it is so tough to pass, and especially in today's environment, the cars are so equally matched.
Safety car leads the field down the back straightaway. Bill Elliott trying to get his second short track win of the year and set a record for Ford. Ford has never won 3 short track events in the modern era of NASCAR and Winston Cup racing dating back to 1971. The last person to win from the pole here was Darrell Waltrip back in 1984, driving the Junior Johnson Chevrolet. Ready for the green flag as Harold Kinder holds them down at a turn 4, and Elliott will lead the charge. Elliott and Kolicki in the turn 1. Elliott has a half a car length advantage out of turn 1. Schrader slipping and sliding, but hangs on to it, and Kolicki will be in second spot by 2 car lengths in turn 3. Elliott the leader, Kolicki is second, Schrader third, and Ricky Rudd is fourth.
Mark Martin got awfully loose down the front straightaway as one car bumped him as he came off of turn 4. Of course, we see a lot of that on the short tracks.
Single file racing now off the back straightaway. Bill Elliott leading the charge, and cars already on the move. Phil Parsons on the outside of the back straightaway. There's Elliott leading the way. Early on, these drivers will be taking advantage of an early lap going to school session.
Well, that was a real good shot coming off of the first lap with Ken Schrader. He really stepped on the gas. You can see him there in 3rd place. He was trying as hard as he could to get around Kolicki as early as possible, and the wheels spun on him.
Earnhardt making his move up through the field. Dale Earnhardt really making a rocket run to the front. Earnhardt now back in the back of the pack, starting back in 22nd spot. Now moving in on the Tom Petty car.
Look at the jump Dale Earnhardt got on Darrell Waltrip. You know, they started side by side, and Dale Earnhardt is, what, 4 or 5, maybe 6 positions ahead of
Yeah, he
Darrell
moved
Waltrip.
up in there. He moves around Kyle Petty, just passes him with ease. Earnhardt jumped up to the outside on the first couple of laps, and Waltrip got boxed in behind a couple of cars down on the inside and just couldn't get away. But Earnhardt gambled a little bit, went on the outside, and it has really paid off for him as he's picking off positions.
That's Earnhardt currently being shown in 16th spot, just back there behind the Greg Sachs car. Sachs driving for Buddy Baker in the Red Baron Oldsmobile. And meanwhile, you know, Darrell Waltrip being caught back in heavy traffic back in the field, and a lot of traffic back where Waltrip is. There's Earnhardt now making a move on the inside of Greg Sachs, and Sachs will slam the door down in turn 1.
Well, Earnhardt certainly is not driving conservative here in the first part of the race. Of course, he's an aggressive race driver, but you would not know that he's running for points as aggressive as he's driving here early. But he knows that he has a race car that'll work and that can get up front, and he's going to try to put it there.
Well, you know, Dale Earnhardt, after having that wreck last week at Charlotte, he's really going to have to try hard to make up the lost points.
Back up front, Bill Elliott showing the way here in the early laps for the Holly Farms 400. Elliott the leader, out on Kolicki running in 2nd spot, and about 4 or 5 car lengths back to Kenny Schrader in 3rd. Let's go back in the pack. Darrell Waltrip still back in heavy traffic. Waltrip just moving in front of our camera car there of the Darrell Jarrett effort. Shepard and trying to make a move. There is DW Darrell Waltrip trying to move inside of the Sterling Marlin Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile. This is the same car that Waltrip won with at Martinsville. There's a shot of Darrell Waltrip, a good shot from Dale Jarrett's Hardy's race cam. And Waltrip now back in 21st spot, trying to make his way to the front. Waltrip now trying to be careful and take his time. Remember, Waltrip has won here 9 times, 6 times in the Holly Farms 400. Bill Elliott leading here for the Holly Farms 400. Alan Kowicki runs in second spot. We are early on here in this Holly Farms event, showing some 8 laps complete. We'll be back in just a moment. On the event, and the pole sitter, Bill Elliott, has been leading every lap. We are now 12 laps into this 400-lap, 250-mile event, and it's been the front row. Elliott and Kowicki all the way. Those two cars separated by about 4 or 5 car lengths. And, of course, Alan Kowicki still looking for that coveted first Winston Cup win. He has had 83 starts without a victory. Kowicki, the 1986 champion Spark Plus Rookie of the Year in NASCAR competition, trying to move in on Bill Elliott. And Elliott just needs to finish up in the front. He currently contains a 109-point lead over Rusty Wallace.
Elliott's turning the track at a pretty good clip, Jerry, this early. He's turning about 20.4 seconds. In practice here yesterday, some of them were down about 20 seconds, but that was with brand new tires on. So he's setting a pretty good pace here after they have run some 10 or 12 laps. It's actually 15 laps now.
Well, one driver who's trying to get his first short track win of the season, in fact, his first win ever came on a short track, that was Jeff Bodine. Bodine won on the short track a few years back, and of course, trying to get his win again here at Martinsville, or here at Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Jeff Bodine has started in 8th spot in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. Let's go to the Bodine pits and Dick Berger. Dick?
Well, Jerry, while the majority of fans are watching the front of the pack, the majority of pits are watching Jeff Bodine, and here's why. He's the only one of the front runners who elected to start this race on Hoosier tires. All the rest of the front runners started on Goodyear. Yesterday in practice, the Goodyear showed it ticked faster than the Hoosier tires, but nobody knows what for sure is going to happen today. So far, he has not yet radioed his crew to have a conversation about tires. Everybody's watching Bodine, number 5.
One pit stop has been made. Rookie driver Ernie Irvin came in. He had a flat right rear tire. His crew changed that. He's back out on the racetrack now, but he's at least 1 lap down.
Well, both Elliott and Kowicki, the front 2 cars, are on Goodyear tires. And we mentioned Dick Berger said that Jeff Bodine was on Hoosier. The other drivers starting on Hoosiers were Kenny Bouchard, Morgan Shepard, and Rick Wilson. Only 4 of the original 32 starters opted to use the Hoosier tires.
You can see Ernie Irvin right there on the inside trying to get around Alan Kowicki to get his lap back. That Alan Kowicki also, with the newer tires, is getting a comparison of scuff tires to new tires for the other crew members.
Back in the battle
going on back in the pack, there's Harry Gant in the car number 33 and Lake Speed in the purple car. His car number 83, and Phil Parsons trying to move around him. And here's Terry Labonte. Terry has been making some pretty good moves. Of course, as you said, he might be one of the favorites here. Junior Johnson's cars always run well here in North Wilkesboro.
There's Harry Gant currently being shown in 7th spot, and the separation back to Lake Speed, who's 8th, Phil Parsons 9th, and Terry Labonte currently in 10th position. There's Labonte coming by the 10th place car. Labonte having won this race a year ago, coming from almost a lap down after tagging the wall at a turn 4. And of course, he set on the pole and won this event earlier in the year, back in April. That, of course, the first Union 400. And there's Ernie Irvin, who made an early pit stop. Irvin, who has now fresh rubber. You see how much quicker Irvin is. The point Gary Nelson made a little bit earlier. Fresh rubber has made Irvin quicker than second place car Alan Kowicki.
Well, that is amazing. You know, that's only 20 laps on these other guys' tires that were 20 laps into the race, and the tires must have dropped off just a little bit. Ernie Irvin got new tires on his car, and he's that much quicker, but that should even out in a few laps.
Then there was a lot of concern about tire wear here. People thought possibly in the garage area that if it was a warm day, and it's over 70 degrees here today, and we had the rain, it washed all the rubber off the track, that maybe the Hoosier tires would come into bearing a little bit, but everyone still opted to go with Goodyear's, essentially.
Well, most of them, in fact, all of them did qualify on Goodyear tires, excepting Jeff Bodine, as Dick Berger pointed out. Now, a couple of the drivers, Morgan Shepard and Rick Wilson, who were starting near the rear of the pack, opted to go with the Hoosier tires and go to the rear of the pack, but they were already back there anyway, so it didn't hurt them that much. It will be interesting to see how it goes as the race goes on.
But you can see a lot of these cars, the 11 car of Terry Labonte, the 83 car, and the 27, the 6 car, all together right there, are all sliding a little bit in the turn. Especially the 11 car. You can almost see the back end getting loose on it. Right here's a good shot. We'll see if he slides again. Well, he got a little better traction through that turn, but he has had a lot of problems getting a little bit of grip.
Terry Labonte driving for the veteran Junior Johnson. Junior has won here more than any other car owner 18 times. And, of course, Labonte driving the Budweiser Chevrolet. And we asked Terry Labonte, you know, about driving for Junior all these years. There's so much pressure to win here at Wilkesboro. Does it put a lot of extra pressure on you as a driver?
Yeah, I guess it does in a way. You know, I finished up here behind his cars before I got to drive them, and I always wondered how they could beat you. And then the past couple of races up here in Junior's cars, you know, we've been fortunate enough to win the races. And it's actually a little bit easier driving them than trying to chase them, I'll tell you.
Back up front, Bill Elliott. There's Elliott now. Ernie Irvin, the young driver from Salinas, California, who moved back east, currently locked in a tight rookie point battle with Kenny Bouchard. Irvin now 9 points back of Bouchard, and Irvin getting a lot of experience and showing he is some kind of driver on the short tracks here running inside Bill Elliott.
Well, he's 2 laps down. He's trying to get one of those back as Michael Waltrip comes into the pits for an unscheduled pit stop, and Elliott about to come into some very heavy traffic. And now the car number 7 of Alan Kowicki has caught Bill Elliott as Ernie Irvin races him trying to get one of his laps back.
And a battle back for 5th spot, Dad, between Kenny Schrader and the Harry Gant car. Schrader, the 25 car, back in the pack, and Gant, as those cars battle back and forth. Irvin still on the inside of the Bill Elliott car. And now Elliott's tires trying to take a hold. Irvin down on the bottom of the racetrack.
Bill's having a tough time up in that second groove. A car really has to handle well here in North Wilkesboro, especially early in the race. Now, most of the time we see the cars move, the groove moves up as the race goes on, but he's having to run up there a little bit earlier than he wanted to, and that's really putting a strain on him.
Well, you know, with Bill Elliott, he being in the points like he is, he has to be careful at this point in the race. He's leading the race, and that feels good, but he's going to give the lap traffic just a little more room, I think, than he would if he was, say, 10th in points right now. So being the point leader makes you approach the lapping the traffic a little bit differently than, say, an Alan Kowicki who's right behind him.
Moving around, Jimmy Means in the car number 90, the Bullseye Barbecue car. Now going by the Bob Whitcomb racing efforts, the TRW machine for Kenny Bouchard, the current rookie leader, point leader. Trying to hang on. A lot of concern about tire wear. Now, they can go about 140 or 50 laps net on fuel, but tires is the primary concern.
Yeah, I doubt if we'll see them go that far today, Jerry, before they'll come in. The tires will start slipping and sliding over the track. And look, Ricky Rudd in the green, number 26, has caught the front runners. Rudd started back where in the 4th position, but he dropped back pretty good on the start of the race, but he since has run down Bill Elliott and Alan Kowicki. So Rudd might be the fastest car on the racetrack right now.
You know, Rudd has had, he has the dubious distinction of leading in the category of engine failures this year. And of course, if they had not had engine failures, Rudd would have possibly won more than he already has. Of course, he won at Watkins Glen on ESPN, and on the short tracks, he has been extremely strong. Had the race at Martinsville been a 400 lapper, he would have won it. Of course, he had engine trouble just past 400 laps, and Rudd now locked in heavy traffic there, trying to get around some of the slower cars, and he's pulled on the rear deck of Alan Kowicki. On the 7 short track events, Rudd has only finished twice. Both times he finished second at Wilkesboro here back in the spring, and at Richmond. He has had 4 engine failures and 1 wreck, but I think that'll change next year for Rudd, because they have a big addition to that team.
Yes, Lou LaRosa, who has been the chief engine builder for Richard Childers and the Goodrich team that Dale Earnhardt drives for, is now working for the Quaker State team of Kenny Burns' team that Rudd drives for.
Ricky Rudd looking for his first ever win here at Wilkesboro Speedway. His best finish in the past has been a second twice, we mentioned here. He finished second for Dale Earnhardt back in 1986 in the spring event, and of course finished second here in the spring of this year to Terry Labonte. Bill Elliott leads here in the Wilkesboro Speedway. Alan Kowicki running in second spot. There is Rudd in third, and Rudd hangs on. There's Ricky Rudd. 3 short track career wins. His only win of the season this year coming, of course, on the road course at Watkins Glen.
And now, Jerry, we begin to see the yellow car of Jeff Bodine come into the picture. He's running in the 4th position. Jeff started back in the 8th position. We wonder if those Hoosier tires that he has on are beginning to come in.
It's almost as if Jeff's running a higher line. Now, I saw it on that last shot. Jeff was almost a little bit higher than Ricky Rudd or Alan Kowicki in front of him. Jeff knows his way around this racetrack. He gets around here pretty good. We'll have to keep an eye on him and see if he can stay up front all afternoon.
Alan Kwiecki trying to stay there with Bill Elliott. Top 10 here at the Holly Farms 400. Bill Elliott the leader. Alan Kwiecki running second. Rudd is third. Jeff Bodine fourth. Back Berman. And John Saunders along with NFL analyst Tom Jackson. And tonight at 7:15 p.m. NFL prime time. Battle up front here in the Wilkesboro Speedway. Alan Kwiecki moving to the inside of turn 2. Elliott trying to hang on. Elliott is a high road. Kwiecki on the bottom of the racetrack in turn 3. And Rudd has the best seat in the house.
Well, they're getting ready to line up and go right by Elliott. See Jeff Bodine and Ricky Rudd all falling in place. Elliott's going to try his best to drop down low, but there's a car filling the hole with Ricky Rudd right there and Jeff Bodine right behind Ricky Rudd. So they're going to try their best to keep Bill Elliott on the outside.
Well, remember, Bodine is the driver on the Hoosier tires, and Ned, the concern was about the 50-lap mark. What would happen? And we're just a few laps shy of 50.
And it looks like that car is getting very good traction coming off the turns, and that's where they thought the Hoosier tires might work best, is giving them traction off the turns, because as the race goes on, it gets very slippery. It's hard to get traction. You run a very low gear here at North Wilkesboro, which puts a lot of strain on the tires as you come off the turns. However, Ricky Rudd is on good gear, and he's coming up there staying right with Alan Kwiecki. So I guess it depends on how you have your race car set up.
Boy, they lined up and went right by Bill Elliott. He's in 5th position. In one lap time, he went from 1st to 5th.
There's Alan Kwiecki going by our in-car camera and the Hardee's race cam there in Dale Jarrett's car. Alan Kwiecki in the car number 7, the ZREX Ford. He's being pursued by the 26 car. Of course, it's maybe the quickest car on the racetrack right now because he's just got a lot of horsepower off the corners. That, of course, is Rudd, and you just see Rudd coming in your picture there, and Dale Jarrett trying to hang on inside Rudd, but Rudd will really put that throttle in and shoot by Jarrett down that back stretch.
And here's Harry Gant coming into the picture also. Car number 33 that's on the outside of Dale Jarrett there at the moment. Gant is currently running in the 4th position. He has moved around Bill Elliott and has caught that front-running pack. Gant starting back in the 7th position, worked his way up now to 4th, and he really likes this racetrack. In fact, his last win came here at North Wilkesboro, I believe. Exactly
3 years ago, Harry Gant's last win came in the Holly Farms 400 in 1985. Field thundering by the start-finish line. That's the view that Harold Kendler gets when they come by as he watches the field with those yellow and green flags up there. And the car number 33 now trying to make a move inside of Jeff Bodine. That's Bodine now on the high side and Gant on the inside, and Gant jumps back in the throttle and will have the advantage coming out of turn 4. Gant, who lives some 15 miles away down the road here in Kansas, North Carolina. This has to be Harry's home track. He ran a lot of the short track days here. He's driven modified cars here. And, of course, he likes the racetrack. We mentioned then that Gant's last win was 82 races ago right here in 1985.
And, boy, would he like to rectify that. Of course, he'll be leaving this team, which is headed up by Travis Carter and owned by Hal Needham at the end of this year, and will go with a new team that Leo Jackson will head up. So he certainly would like to give them a victory before he leaves the team, because they've really had some tough luck the last couple of years.
And, of course, that team is for sale. We understand that Hal Needham has the car number 33 team, the Skull Bandit team, for sale, and crew chief Travis Carter is trying to buy it. We understand the price tag is about $1.2 million. And, Gary, you'll take your check from today and go buy it, probably.
Well, yeah, I could write a check for that. I just hope that the guy wouldn't take it to the bank.
Oh, a lot of driver changes coming up through next year, and a lot of sponsor changes, and we will tell you what's going to happen later on. That was Harry Gant there. Let's go back up front. Alan Kwiecki now trying to hang on, and Ricky Rudd sitting there looking at that big red and white ZREX bumper. And now Rudd says, I'm tired of watching that bumper. I'm going to make a move, and Kwiecki says, nope, not now, not a turn 2.
They did bump a little bit as they came off of that turn. Rudd got a nose under it, but just couldn't make it stick. Alan's car working pretty good down on the inside. He slips up a little bit as he comes off of the turn, but so does Rudd.
Alan Kwiecki has to be a sentimental favorite to get that first Winston Cup win. A lot of people think if he's going to get it, it'll come on this short tracks. Now, we're not disparaging at all his Winston Cup Super Speedway experience, but he is awfully strong on the short tracks. And many believe he should have won at Martinsville. A miscue in the pits, an air impact wrench problem, and he could have won it. He made up a lap under green. And he says, I will win today if the car holds together. I will be up front. Now, when he was introduced before the race, he got a standing ovation from this crowd here in Western North Carolina.
He has become a very popular race driver. Of course, he's won 4 of the Wilkesboro Awards so far this year, so he's proven that his car is fast and he drives fast trouble.
Trouble up in turn 4. Kyle Petty spins in this field, splitting, going around Kyle Petty. Here's Elliott as he moves by. Rick Wilson, Phil Parsons, so we're under yellow for the first time today. The first caution flag of the afternoon here at the Wilkesboro Speedway, and Kyle Petty has looped it coming out of turn 4.
Now here's where we're going to be able to see the pit crews in action. With Alan Kowicki leading, we'll see where he comes out of the pits.
Okay, here's a replay of what happened up there. Dale Earnhardt had just gone around Kyle Petty and looked like he might have got bumped a little bit by Lee Falk as Kyle's car hit the inside curbing and around and caught just a piece of the car number 88 of Greg Sachs.
So Kyle gets an assist from Lee Falk in spinning that car around out of turn 4, and the leaders are on pit road. Kowicki is in, everyone in on this first yellow flag of the day, and we will watch some of this pit activity. Let's go to the Jeff Bodine pits and Dick Berggren.
Well, Jerry, they are ready for a pit stop here, and they're about the only ones that are going to put Hoosier tires on. I just took inventory up and down pit road, and everybody else is going with Goodyears. Benny's at the other end of pit road. Benny, what do you see down there?
Dick, I'm in the 9, the Bill Elliott pit there, going back with Goodyears. This was a very opportune pit. Caution flag for Bill Elliott because he was slipping back.
Indeed he was, Benny. And Gary Nelson, would you, as a crew chief, after sitting here for 50 laps and watching what Jeff Bodine's car would do, would you jump now and go ahead and switch from Goodyear to Hoosier?
No, I don't think so, because Jeff was on the move, and then Harry Gant came along with the Goodyears and went on around Jeff. So I think that Jeff maybe had a spurt there with his Hoosiers, but Harry Gant proved that the Goodyears were still outrunning him.
And here's our leader back up front there, and of course that is Ricky Rudd, 26, the Quaker State car. You know, that's the story, Ned. A lot of the crews thought maybe the Hoosiers would be okay for 40, 50 laps, but then they would go away.
Well, as Dick Berggren pointed out at the top of the show, every team was going to be watching Jeff Bodine and those other few cars that had the Hoosier tires on them to see how they did work after they had run for a while. And as Gary pointed out, cars were running in front of him that still had on Goodyear, and also one car passed him, that Harry Gant, passing Jeff Bodine, and he had Goodyear, so they want to make a switch right now.
We are under the first yellow flag of the afternoon here at the Wilkesboro Speedway. The leader of the Holly Farms 400 is Ricky Rudd in the Quaker State Buick. We'll be back in just a moment. Speedway, we welcome you back to the Holly Farms 400. We have just gone green, and that man, Ricky Rudd, setting the pace here. Rudd staying on the racetrack, electing not to come in and pit, and he is shown as the leader. Now, on lap 63, the fellow who was the leader just before that caution flag, that is Alan Kowicki. He was the leader, came in and pitted, and came back out in 7th spot. Now remember, Alan is an independent. He doesn't have the full-fledged pit crew some of the other guys have. He has only a couple or 3 full-time employees. But Alan, with Paul Andrews as the crew chief, has been doing an outstanding job on the short tracks.
Well, I think Alan Kowicki also, to give him give his crew a little bit of credit, I think they were also blocked in the pits by Jeff Bodine's crew. The pits were real tight right there, and Alan Kowicki stopped first near the wall. Jeff Bodine came in on an angle and made it tough for Alan to get out of the pits.
One of the biggest winners in that pit stop contest there during the caution flag was the car number 17 you see on the right side of your picture there. That, of course, is Darrell Waltrip in the Tide Chevrolet. Waltrip came in the pits in 10th spot and came back out in 5th. So an excellent job by Jeff Hammond, Sammy Jones, and the crew of that Tide Chevrolet to put him back up front in the thick of things.
Darrell seems to be having some kind of a problem now, though. He didn't look as strong all of a sudden, like he may be having a tire going down.
Back up front, Bill Elliott now moving around the car of Rick Wilson. Elliott can see Ricky Rudd, but Ricky Rudd has said, see you, folks, as he has set sail. Kenny Bernstein, the car owner of the King Racing Quaker State Buick, has got to be smiling. Larry McReynolds and the crew, they felt the car dialed in all year long on the short tracks, but they have had motor trouble. And maybe, just maybe, today's their day. They will get that coveted first short track win of the season.
Jerry, I think that he did make a pit stop during that caution period. He just beat everybody out of the pit stop. Let's go to Dick Berggren in the pit.
Well, Nick Jarrett, it's an interesting story on Ricky Rudd's automobile. All year long, he's had trouble with engines. In fact, he's dropped out of 12 races this year with blown engines. This is not an engine in the car that was built by this team. They actually borrowed this engine from Bob Rahilly, who owns the 75 car of Neil Bonnet. This thing is really performing well for Ricky Rudd today. They're coming out of the corners where the horsepower really shows, and for a change, Rudd seems to have a piece that is very strong and likely very reliable.
Let's take a look at the pit stop summary. We mentioned Alan Kowicki came in as the leader and came out in 7th spot. Rudd came in 2nd spot, came back out as the leader. Great pit work there by Rick McReynolds and the team. Harry Gant came in 3rd, came out 3rd. Travis Carter and the team trying to keep Harry up front. Jeff Bodine likewise. Waddell Wilson and the crew, he came in 4th and came back out in 4th. We mentioned the big gain by Darrell Waltrip. He came in 10th and came back out in 5th spot. Good battle back in the pack. There is Harry Gant, who's running back in the field. Gant currently being shown in 4th spot. Gant is 4th, and the car number 11 of Terry Labonte in 5th.
Bill Elliott, of course, runs 2nd. He's not too far out in front of Jeff Bodine. In fact, Bodine is really dogging him right on his bumper, running into 3rd position.
And you know, the most amazing thing is the lead that Ricky Rudd has taken over this group right here. Ricky Rudd just shot away on the restart. I think Bill Elliott might have been holding up the line a little bit. Here you see Harry Gant just got around Jeff Bodine. I think right now that, yeah, there's Elliott falling back again.
Well, Jeff Bodine just moved up on the inside of Bill Elliott and took the measure on him and moved away. So Bodine's car certainly working very well now, a little bit better than Bill Elliott's.
I think that's putting it mildly. Bodine looked like Elliott may have thrown an anchor out as Elliott was slowing going into turn 3, and Bodine goes to the inside and took the 2nd spot. Jeff Bodine really has that car dialed in. As we may see, is there possibly a problem with the Elliott machine? He doesn't look as quick as he was early on. Let's go down to Benny Parsons in the Bill Elliott pit with Ernie Elliott. Benny?
Jerry, I'm down with Ernie. Does Bill have a problem right now?
Well, right now, Benny, the tire stagger's off just a bit. We're trying to adjust it. We made a change on the first stop, but it was just not enough, so we're going to adjust it the next time, and I think it'll be fine.
Has he said anything since the last screen?
No, he just said stagger was still off a bit.
Okay, no problem.
Well, excepting for the driver out there, it makes it a little bit tougher on him driving the car if it's not handling quite as well. But he is staying up there. He's still in 3rd position, so he really doesn't have a whole lot to worry about right now. And as Ernie said, as the afternoon goes on, to make other pit stops, they'll make adjustments on the cars and the tires.
And Gary, as the crew chief, this track seems to be a little bit more forgiving than some of the other short tracks. At Bristol, if you have a stagger problem, you could be in the wall in a heartbeat. At Martinsville, the track is so tight, people can't pass. And if you have a stagger problem, you may get the chrome horn out of the corner and get spun. But here, there's a lot of room, so it's not a problem for Elliott.
Well, you know, he'd like to be leading, but he does have a problem getting the grip off the turns. You can see right here, Harry Gant, he gets on the throttle. Well, that looked a little more equal that time. The last few laps we've seen Bill Elliott's kind of falling back. He doesn't look like he's in any serious trouble right now. He's just kind of riding in, you know, wherever he ends up, top 5 maybe, he's going to follow around until he can get some better staggered tires on the car.
Elliott has never won at the Wilkesboro Speedway. His best finish coming in this race a year ago where he finished 3rd. Now, he sat on the pole for both races last year and sat on the outside front row here in the spring. Remember, we talked at the top of the show, Elliott's short track program was his Achilles heel, his problem back in '85. And since 1981, the driver who has had the best average finish on the short tracks has become the Winston Cup champion. Elliott had only one top 5 finish back in '85, although he won 11 races, and he lost the championship to Darrell Waltrip.
Jerry, right now there are 23 cars on the lead lap. Of course, Ricky Rudd is the leader. In 2nd place now is Jeff Bodine. 3rd is Bill Elliott. Harry Gant is 4th. In 5th place is Terry Labonte. 6th, Darrell Waltrip. 7th is the car number 7 of Alan Kowicki. 8th is Rusty Wallace. 9th is still on Mike Alexander. Here's a battle for that 3rd position as Harry Gant tries to move on the inside.
And Harry Gant brings this crowd of partisans to their feet. They're all cheering for the hometown favorite. Of course, can't we mention just a few miles away, his home in Taylorsville, and Gant takes 3rd spot from Bill Elliott.
Continuing with that rundown, Phil Parsons is 11th, and 12th is Mark Martin. Davey Allison runs 13th, and 14th is Kenny Schrader. Lane Speed is 15th, 16th is Brett Bodine, 17th Greg Sachs, Sterling Marlin is 18th, Morgan Shepherd 19th, Neil Bonnet 20th, and 21st is the car number 8 of Bobby Hill, Richard Sims 22nd. All of those cars in the lead lap, and so is Rob Moroso in 23rd.
Well, Ned, we'll show the fans at home the top 15 as we continue here for the Holly Farms 400 here at the Wilkesboro Speedway, the 26th event of what is a 29-race season worth $18 million. Of course, the leader, there he is, car number 26, Ricky Rudd. Jeff Bodine is 2nd, Gant is 3rd, Elliott 4th, Labonte is 5th. 83 of 400 laps completed. Back in 6th spot, Darrell Waltrip. Kowicki resides in 7th. Rusty Wallace is in 8th. Dale Earnhardt 9th. Mike Alexander is 10th. The top 15 rounding out. Phil Parsons 11th. Mark Martin 12th. Davey Allison 13th. Blake Speed 14th. Ken Bouchard is in 15th. We'll be back in just a moment. Plug 300 coming up later today following our coverage at 4:30 p.m. on ESPN. Then, of course, the next to the final kart PPG event of the year. And here in the Wilkesboro Speedway, there's the leader right now. That's car number 26, Ricky Rudd, moving on the inside of the Heinz ketchup machine of Morgan Shepherd. And an interesting development in this first pit stop. We are told now that some of the crews are trying to decipher the tire strategy, Ned. And among those, the car number 27 of Rusty Wallace.
Well, Benny Parsons did some research in the pits, and he learned that Rusty Wallace's crew did bolt on 4 new Hoosier tires, and it seems to be working for him. Let's go to Benny Parsons for that story.
Thank you very much, Ned. I did talk to Jimmy Makar, the chassis man on that automobile, and that's exactly what he said, that they put on stickers, tires that had never been ran before. I went down and talked to Waddell earlier on. He told me the same thing. They were going to put on brand new Hoosiers. Normally you don't like to do that because they build too much heat. I'm down in the Ernie Elliott pits, Bill Elliott pits right now. Ernie Elliott has brand new Goodyears ready to go on the number 9 the next time they try it. So right now it looks like they're going to throw all the used tires and go strictly with new ones.
Well, they did work yesterday afternoon in the practice runs here and scuffing in tires. That is, they go out and run them 2 or 3 laps, heat them up a little bit, then let them sort of cure overnight. And Gary, that's usually the way they do it at most racetracks, but maybe that's not going to be the tip here.
Well, with the track being green, everybody was concerned, and they really prepared themselves for anything that could have happened. They thought that maybe there would be enough rubber in the track, maybe not. I think we can go to Dick Bergman down in the pits with Larry McReynolds and get more on that story.
You guys have decided to stick with the Goodyear tires, Larry?
Yeah, right now, you know, there don't seem to be a big problem with him. He's pretty happy with the car. He said the racetrack is really getting slick. Bodine's on the Hoosier tires. A while ago, he run hard for about 40 laps, and then he started fading. We had Hoosier tire on our mind, but when we watched Jeff start fading, we decided to stick with the Goodyear.
You're running extremely well. Are you running as hard as you can? That car looks like it's on rails.
Well, no, we really aren't. You know, that's not Ricky Rudd's style. It always is his style to race the racetrack for about 300 laps and then see what's left the last 100, then he'll turn it on.
And we'll see if Jeff Bodine can get by Ricky Rudd, who is currently your leader.
And Jeff Bodine hasn't heard Larry McReynolds say he was fading because he is right on the rear deck down at Quaker State Buick. Bodine, the Levi Garrett Chevrolet, car number 5, at the top of your picture there. That white and yellow numeral, car number 5, it's a Chevrolet. And he now a couple of car lengths back from Rudd. And apparently Rudd has been told in the pits to go ahead and step on it a little bit. And Rudd now widens that lead to 2 car lengths coming out of turn 2.
Well, that car is working very well, regardless of what kind of tires he has on. Ricky Rudd is one of the smoothest drivers on the Winston Cup circuit. And when a racetrack gets slick, that works to his liking because he is so smooth. He knows exactly how hard he can press the accelerator and keep the tires from spinning.
I think it's almost predictable. When we get to North Wilkesboro Speedway, the track is going to get slick and greasy. The longer the race runs, the less grip the cars seem to get, and Ricky Rudd seems to always be able to come to the front when that happens.
Well, he's got a couple of cars in front of him there right now as Bobby Hillen just moved around Mr. Petty. Now, yesterday in practice, Petty was one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, but it doesn't seem to be working that way today as he goes a lap down to Ricky Rudd. Rudd just picking off wherever he catches it.
The winningest driver in the history of this North Wilkesboro Speedway, having won 15 times, now being Frank a lap down and trying to stay in front of Rudd is Bobby Hillen Jr. Phil Clark flashes by. And back in the battle, a battle there between Terry Labonte and Alan Kowicki. That's a battle for 5th spot. Labonte in the car number 11, the Budweiser Chevrolet. Kowicki in the car number 7, and Kowicki there, also there, of course, the 27 of Rusty Wallace. So Wallace have those thicker Hoosier tires, and he is in the thick of that battle, back for 5th spot.
Those tires seemed to work well for him just after the green flag came out, Jerry. He moved up through the pack pretty quick, but once he caught this pack of cars, then it was a little bit slower in being able to get around him.
This is probably what everybody envisioned at the beginning of this 1988 season as a tire war. You know, the tires close to each other. Here's the Hoosier tires chasing 2 Goodyear cars, and they're not too far apart. They're not really miles apart like we've seen most of the year. In fact, the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 races, I think the Goodyear have been clearly the dominant tire. Now we see the Hoosiers gaining just a little bit of ground. Maybe this is what the people envisioned when they said there was going to be a tire war.
Terry Labonte just lost 2 positions there. Alan Kowicki moving up into the number 5 position, and the car number 7, and Rusty Wallace, the car number 27, taking advantage of the pass and moved on the inside of Terry Labonte as well. So Labonte's car doesn't seem to be working quite as well now as it did earlier.
This is not the car that Terry Labonte won with here in the spring, or the car he won with last fall. That car was destroyed in a violent crash up at Dover, Delaware, just a few weeks ago, back in the second event at Dover back in September, and they did not have time to rebuild the car. So they brought this car, the backup short track car, the same car that ran at Martinsville, and it ran pretty well at Martinsville, but they had been spending a lot of time preparing for 89 and getting that new 89 Ford Thunderbird ready, and so they were unable to repair their short track car to run here. But I tell you, Terry Labonte said that any car Junior Johnson puts on the racetrack with Tim Brewer and the crew is going to be competitive, and it definitely is.
Yes, fans, you did hear Jerry Punch right. That it will be a Thunderbird out in Junior Johnson shops next year. Here's Ricky Rudd now moving up to put a lap on Brett Bodine. Brett is currently running in the 17th position, so Ricky Rudd is really putting his field, a lot of them, to rest, or at least a lap down.
We mentioned the fact that Harry Gant's ride, the car of 33, the Mach 1 car, is for sale. Now, Ricky Rudd's car owner, we told, there's Ricky, the current leader. His car owner, Kenny Bernstein, we understand, made the new engine builder, Lou LaRosa, who had been with Dale Earnhardt for 3 Winston Cup championships. And LaRosa will be with this team next year. Watch out for Rudd in that King Racing effort.
Well, you see Ricky Rudd and Jeff Bodine in a little bit of a predicament here. The cars that are being allowed are supposed to move to the inside and let the leaders go around on the outside. So here's Ricky Rudd with one car trying to move the inside of Michael Walter. Ricky Rudd needs to go around him on the outside, and now he goes to the inside also.
Mike Walker for the Country Time Lemonade Pontiac up in turn 3, and now Rudd will go to the inside, and he will take Jeff Bodine with him as they have now gone 5 towards Brett Bodine and Bobby Hillin. And apparently Rudd really has a muscle coming around the corner. Bodine runs in on him in the turns. Rudd just pumps that throttle and just pulls him by 2 or 3 car lengths coming down the straightaway.
He's getting good traction off the turn, and that is the key on a short track, is getting good traction off the turn. Now you see a couple of cars up in front of him. Mark Martin is the next car. Running in the 16th position. Car number 2 made an unscheduled pit stop earlier, so he was a couple of laps down.
And contact there as Rudd's car just gets a little bit loose, and Bodine has to get on the binders. Ricky Rudd gathers it back in, but now Bodine will have lost a number of spots. Back to Ricky Rudd, about 6 car lengths separating those 2 cars, and Rudd did a masterful job of keeping that car from spinning.
Well, that was a close, and you see the big dent on the front of Jeff Bodine's right front fender where he hit the back of Ricky Rudd's car. That was a great job of driving by. You can see him waving, giving Jeff Bodine hand signals to stay back a little bit.
And Rudd has nowhere to go. Those cars running side by side. Now Mark Martin finally gets around the car number 2, and that does give Ricky a groove to run in for several laps. He simply has nowhere to go. He's just in there figuring which one of those drivers is going past the other one first. As it turned out, Mark Martin followed the right guy.
Mark Martin in the car number 6 there, the Strong Light Ford. That was Jack Roush stable. Martin surprised. He qualifies 6th. And many thought he'd be a contender for the pole, but they put fresh tires on the car and slipped and slide during qualifying. And now he's left early on here, somewhat of a surprise. Young Mark Martin, a good short track driver.
He has a lot of short track experience, a lot of winning short track experience in the Midwest and ASA ARCO competition.
Goes Wilkesboro Speedway. Of course, car number 26, Ricky Rudd leads. We are 115 laps in the Holly Farms 400. Speedway, I'm Jerry Punch, along with Ned Jarrett and Gary Nelson, and the pit crew down there, of course, Dick Bergman and Benny Parsons. Let's take a look, Ned, and see what happened a few laps back in turn 1.
Well, as Ricky Rudd was coming up to lap the car number 6 of Mark Martin and the car number 2, you can see that Jeff Bodine got into him just a little bit, got them both crossways a little bit, but they both backed out and got themselves in good shape and continued on. Now they're putting a lap on Lake Speed, and Lake is currently shown in the 14th position.
It looked like Bodine was trying to stay right with Rudd. Rudd, it seems to run so well out of the corners. Of course, Ricky had nowhere to go with Mark Martin in front of him and Ernie Irvin on the inside. So short tracks, there's not much margin for error.
No, there really isn't. And Ricky had no choice but to run in there and put his brakes on to keep from running over those guys in front of him. And of course, Jeff had his momentum going into the turn, so he just bumped him a little bit.
I think it's a little bit of the rhythm you get into. You know, lap after lap, you let off at the same place. You get on the gas at the same place. Then all of a sudden you run up against some slower traffic, and it really causes you to change your rhythm.
Moving in on the Ken Bouchard car, the car number 10. Bouchard, one of the drivers from up in Massachusetts, running for Rookie of the Year. His older brother, Ronnie Bouchard, of course, who ran so well and won at Talladega a few years ago before retiring from Winston Cup competition. Let's take a look at the cars that are running currently here at North Wilkesboro. Of course, the front two cars is Ricky Rudd, the car number 26. There is Rudd, who started 4th, currently being shown as the leader. Running in 2nd spot, there's the car number 5 as Rudd passes the start-finish line. That is Jeff Bodine, started back in the 8th spot, currently being shown in the 2nd spot here in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. Bodine looking for his first short track win of the season. There, of course, Lake Speed and the Wins Kmart Oldsmobile. Speed having won earlier this year at Darlington. Surprise winner down there, picking up his first ever career Winston Cup win. He started 5th and currently showing in 15th spot. They're having some chassis problems and Speed trying to get that car dialed in.
Bobby Hillen in car number 8 moving around Lake Speed. They're both 1 lap down now, so that's 4th position. As they pass, that Bobby Hillen taking over the 15th position. Speed's car is really washing out in the turns right now. There's a lot of cars out there, as a matter of fact, that are getting very loose, Jerry, as the track gets slicker and those tires gets hotter.
Interesting, Ned. We are over the 115 lap mark, and we have yet to lose a car. There is young Bouchard, Kenny Bouchard, driving the car number 10, 33-year-old driver. There's Kenny out of Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, currently leading the Champion Sparkplug Rookie of the Year standings. And there's Mark Martin, 29-year-old Batesville, Arkansas driver. There's a look at Mark, who qualified 6th in the Stroh Light Jack Roush prepared for Thunderbird. Handsome Harry Gant from Taylorsville, North Carolina, car number 33.
And we understand there might be some smoke coming from that car, Jerry. We'll take a look at him as he goes into turn 1 on the inside of Ken Bouchard, and it does look like there's a little smoke coming out. And that might be rear gearing smoke, Jerry. It looks more like it than...
Looks like bad news for Harry Gant. Those things usually don't get better. It's a smoke, it's an oil type smoke, oil hitting the headers, or maybe rear end gearing. It's hard to say right now, but those things usually don't get better.
Well, if Harry didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. Coming off a great run last week at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Brett Book